could also put her in for one class, and she could just go to specialists for third grade, so she has some socialization time. Part-time, I know that we were conflicting because I just researched this because I'm really confused. Because I'm researching options for my freshmen. And that's why I'm here. I'm advocating for those of us that are out there researching partial enrollment options. I'm considering 1 to 3 is considered part-time, one class. So I could send my daughter to just one class a day, and then you say homeschool her for the rest. Well, I know I'm not qualified as an elementary master's, doesn't matter, even with my husband's, to teach her biology. But you're telling me that I need to get permission for her to get credit courses that I pay for through K-12 International Academy, Texas Tech, or one of the 3 or 4 other universities nationwide that are accredited that I could pay to get coursework online and then transfer them into DAE. Is that how that would work? If I wanted to accelerate her in 1 or 2 or the other courses for programming issues, I could put her in one, enroll her in K-12, Keystone, there's like a couple others. Unfortunately, they're not free in the state of Kentucky. Other states are free. Texas, they would be free. The problem is that what I'm hearing is that I do have a free online school, Dodea's virtual school, that my daughter doesn't have accessibility to as a programming option for either those children who are advanced or gifted. I can't use it because she doesn't have a 504 or an IEP when I was doing my research, and it's only for those students who have a conflict in scheduling, even though I know that she's disciplined enough, I've watched her be online before, to have access to this school. So I guess that's what I'm trying to determine what I can do for my daughter. That's free. Because right now I know she's very successful in a homeschool environment. She's not really thriving this year. I'm also advocating for other parents in the community who are having the same issue, that we would like to partially homeschool our children in high school. We're not qualified to homeschool, write the curriculum. So we have to research and pay for coursework that I have to go through you to get permission for her to do, to give Dodea, to give her credit. Is that accurate? Am I accurate with that? What I'm asking today on the record is that I have free access to the virtual school. That is a gifted programming option for all of our children, including our middle school children. We have a child who took AP English in 7th grade in the public school system and got credit. So we have children who are being homeschooled at the middle school level because their parents want them to be accelerated, but they don't have the qualifications to actually accelerate them, and we have a virtual school here for free that they don't have access to. And that's why I'm here. I'm advocating for those. Right now I feel like I'm kind of at a catch-22 when it comes to my own daughter. What do I do? I know that her needs aren't being met, and I don't want to have to pay for anything. But then I'm looking in here, and I can enroll. Actually, if she took 4 classes, she's considered full-time with Dodea. 4. Don't you have 7 classes periods per day? So I could put her in for 4, she'd be still considered full-time, and then I have the option of putting her in college credit that I pay for the other 3, which I know she's capable of doing at this point. I guess what will Dodea accept for her to, if I were to accelerate her? It's a gifted programming option called telescoping. You have children who can take 1 year of coursework and finish it in 5 months. I've watched her do it. That's the reason I know that she's capable, and I know a lot of children at our schools are capable of telescoping, where they accelerate through a course, 1 year of coursework in 6 to 7 months. That gives them accessibility, an option of taking more coursework, accelerating through high school, giving even more options of taking college credit at a younger age. And with military kids, because my daughter will probably go through 3 high schools, I'm trying to kind of move her along, because potentially she'll finish in 3. I want free access to the virtual school for all of our children, and that's why I'm here. So, and thank you, Mrs. Prather. I will talk to you about potentially rescheduling for my daughter. I understand that the K-12 Academy, you will accept other coursework that we pay for. K-12 International, Keystone, Texas Tech offers a K-12 program, very inexpensive, I mean, by out of Texas. Dual enrollment, but not dual enrollment because she's not a junior. That you will accept those credit if I were to pay for those so I could accelerate her at home. Is that correct? Yes.
One of the things, just to clarify, and this is a DODEA, I mean, we can
Yes.
advocate, but I mean, one of the things, and that's why I put on the virtual school program, is that the virtual high school does not replace or compete with the face-to-face instruction that's offered at any high school. So unless there's a conflict or unless there's additional reason. And so that's why, that's why it says, visit with your high school guidance counselor so we can determine the needs of your child versus, but if we offer the course, that's one of the things that they're not going to be in competition with the courses we offer here at the high school.
I think that for some students, we need to expand that opportunity to use the virtual school. And I don't think it's necessarily a DODEA because I think that they're overseas. And why are we not allowed to use it in CONUS? I understand it was used by people that parents have the option to use it. I read through the overseas only. Why is that?
We do have students in it. That's what I was saying. We have students in it, and in every period, except for one, we have students who are at the virtual school or taking courses, and they're in our media center. It's one of their periods that they take.
But if this is I'd like to try to ask that it be available to the homeschool parents too, because it is in the best need of the parent to have their child on online coursework by licensed, certified, qualified at that level, because it is, I don't think all of our parents, a lot of us would admit we're not qualified to teach physics. It's not meant for, but our children are capable of excelling on an online individualized course. But it's a gifted programming issue so that they can accelerate. And I'm asking that it be available to middle school students as well, so that those children have, and that's something I will just, on the record, I will address it with DODEA. But it's definitely, if you have children, instead of the parent having to homeschool to give the acceleration, you only currently accelerate, I listened to Mr. Brady, that you only accelerate for math and foreign language. That's only 2 subject areas in your middle school area. And I know that if we have a child in our school that took AP English in 7th grade in the public school, that is our opportunities being afforded our children in the public school sector off post. So, and if Mr. Brady in his argument said the DODEA, I watched the video, I was one of the 800, that we were going to be the best district in the world, then you have to give our students the same opportunities that they are afforded in the public school sector, even the public school sector. If I were to move, my daughter would have free access to K-12 education in Fort Hood or Fort Sam or even Fort Bliss. Fort Bliss. So why is it that here on Fort Knox, where the goal is to be the best in the world, my daughter doesn't have access to a K-12 academy, an online academy? And actually, I just think that they need to align this. The letter from the letter online that's given to parents was published in 2002. How old is the virtual school? It's not even mentioned. And all of the other things that online are so ambiguously written, most parents, even though I did in-depth research, I have no idea what my rights are as a parent when I come to homeschooling. One class, I could put Nyla in one class and she's considered part-time. Well, that gives her dual enrollment opportunity. She doesn't have to be in 3.5, it's 1 to 3. So I think that parents in this community just don't know their rights of what they have available to them and like to expand it just a little bit more. And homeschooling isn't an all or nothing approach. You don't have to pull them all out the whole time, that you can put your children in partially at middle school, 1 to 3 classes. And if you're a homebound student, and if you have a 504 or IEP, you have 100% access to the virtual school. So only those homebound candidates with a 504 or IEP have access to for high school, have access to virtual school. So those children, but those special needs have that use. I'm just asking that it would be expanded to all students. Thank you. Sorry, I went over my 2 minutes.
No, that's fine, thank you. And so I guess just the question, and I don't know if you know the answer to it, but homeschool students, are they allowed to take courses through the virtual school? I guess that's what I'm unclear on, if they meet the other criteria.
Let me research that and get back to you, okay? Because I know that if they're enrolled part-time, they can, but let me find out about homeschool students.
They have to be enrolled within DODEA to qualify for virtual school. That can be one class, because then they become our students once they're enrolled in DODEA. That's the only way we can do a DODEA virtual school enrollment, is through having a homeschool of DODEA, a DODEA school. And that can be one class, and I can say that because we've done that with students in the past. And we actually have a student this year who started out homeschool 6 of 7 classes and needed the transition into a full day attendance with us. So we accommodated 6 classes at home, partnership with us and our curriculum and our textbooks, and only came into our building 1 period a day. And now she's transitioned. She added a second, a third, a fourth, and now we're up to a full day student, because this student had that need, and the mom and I worked it out to where we could do that. So as long as the student belongs to us for 1 period, they have access to DODEA virtual school.
Okay, thank you.
Ma'am, I just had one quick question for you in the back. You referenced Fort Bliss and Fort Hood. Now, were those free classes, were those DODEA?
No, they're.
Oh, it's just Texas, okay. Yeah, I just want to make sure that other DODEA schools aren't getting something that we're not, but that's a state-ran thing, right? Okay.
Hi, I just wanted to call everyone's attention to the slides that Ms. Fink passed out. The one on dual enrollment, at the top it says DODEA guidelines. I believe a new Department of Defense instruction came out on August 25th. So it said, and you say here, and I'm unclear, maybe you don't mean what it says it means. It says accredited post-secondary institution, University of Louisville or Western University online. But if you look at the instruction itself, it's on page 6, enclosure 2. Where it defines dual enrollment, and it says course quality. It doesn't say anything about a requirement that it be online. So I'm assuming your 2 universities online were just by way of example and not.
Yeah,
Right.
those are
Okay.
just. University of Louisville is in-house, yeah, and Western University is the online.
Okay.
So they were just those
Examples,
are the
okay.
ones who we use, I mean, that
So-
we have a partnership
So
with.
it says here, the post-secondary institution must be accredited by an agency recognized by the U.S. Department of Education. So, and I've read this several times, so my interpretation of this is, if a student wants to take a college course for dual enrollment, and we have an ed center right here on Post, they could theoretically take the class there, could they not?
And the part that I also included was the forms that could be filled out for enrollment.
Awesome. Okay, great.
Yeah, and the whole packet's there.
And then I'd like to address one more thing. I want to address this 2 classes per student per year. I would encourage this board to encourage DODEA to relook at that policy, because that is not consistent with what other schools do. I believe, they left. It's my understanding that at Meade County High School, you can get the equivalent of an associate's degree your junior and senior year. So right here. Right, so both of our neighboring high schools off Post, you can get the equivalent of an associate's degree. I know Running Start is the state of Washington's program. That's been around for years and years, and you can get, again, the equivalent of an associate's degree. So I don't understand why DODEA, what possible reason they would have to limit it to 2 courses per year. That's just not consistent with what other school districts do. I was in a small town in West Virginia working, and I checked it out there. And even in, rural West Virginia, you can get an associate's degree with their local college. So I would encourage you, Ms. Fink, and the board to really ask that DODEA take a long, hard look and explain the purpose of that limit. Thank you.
And I believe that in the questions that were put before Mr. Brady, that was a question that was presented to him about the limiting of the number of the courses. And I believe he said he was looking into it. I'll have to go back. I didn't write that in my notes, but he was aware, that question was asked of him.
And have one more thing I forgot, I'm sorry. I just had a question for Ms. Dawson, actually. It looks like she's coming up anyway. So my question is, last time, the last meeting, there was a big discussion about the dress code. And I believe there was some suggestion that it was the parents' fault. The dress code is, I believe, the words you were a muddled mess. And I would agree with that characterization. It is a muddled mess. And what I'd like to know is, I'd like to know from Ms. Dawson, because she's been here so long and she's been, I believe you were the union rep for some time, is why it is the teachers have no dress code at all, none. They don't have to tuck their shirts in. And I'd like to know why that is. My guess is that somebody on behalf of the teachers negotiated that, so maybe that the teachers could be comfortable during the day and they could focus on the business of education. So I'd love to hear some background on that. Why our students have one, but our teachers do not.
I can
Thank you.
answer that.
Yeah.
Both the teachers and the paraprofessionals, our classified folks, function under master labor agreements that have been negotiated between the Federal Education Association and DODEA, DDES in our case. And the resulting document is what we go by. It differs a little bit between the certified document and the classified document. There's a few little things in the classified that are not in the certified. Basically, the certified document says that teachers will dress with, in a way it says professional, but it doesn't limit us. You know, it's basically saying, you know, that the administrator certainly has the right to address anything that the administrator finds offensive, but it would be basically the same kinds of things that they would find offensive in children, you know, skimpy dress, those kinds of things. And it doesn't, we certainly don't have anything that tucks in or anything like that. So our dress has never been tied to the student dress code, for better or for worse, for that reason. I do have a topic for you that I want to suggest. As a retired teacher, and my last year was spent in the middle school, I became really aware of some things that our middle school and high school kiddos in the special ed area need that doesn't seem to be fully developed. It's under, the DODEA calls it the career and technical education. And I'm not speaking just about life skills classes. Ms. Deloach is the high school life skills teacher, but I'm speaking for all special education classes from mild, moderate, all the way through. I believe that it's DODEA's intention that there be a career and technical education component for our SPED kids. And I know that Mr. Labriola got up last year at a special ed meeting with all his teachers and talked about having found places on post that would be willing to have practicums for the high school students in SPED, but I don't think that any of that ever got off the ground. And that's a real shame, because that needs to happen for our kids. That would be an important part of their secondary experience in special education. So I wanted to, I know Ms. Fink is brand new this year in her position, but, you know, between you and Mr. Labriola, you know, maybe that could be explored, and we could find out what has to happen to make something like that occur for our kids to be able to access a program like that. And it is called, under curriculum programs in DODEA, it is called Career and Technical Education. So, thank you.
Thank you. Ma'am?
I'm Dr. Renee Compton. I am the band director at the high school. So excuse me while I wipe the mud off my face a little bit that was slung at my program that I've worked very hard to build. This is my 5th year at Fort Knox High School. I'm not going to address all the concerns because honestly they've been addressed ad nauseum by myself, by Ms. Fink, and by Dr. Washington, who has nothing to do with it necessarily except for her program. I don't want you to leave with the impression that we have a terrible band program. Before I came on, there was no marching band. There was a sad little pep band, and there were about 11 to 14 kids in the program. At the beginning of this year, we had 39. Now, several students have moved, but we're currently at 31. We started off playing grade 2 level music, and I know that doesn't mean a whole lot to most people, but that is second-year band, maybe middle school band level music. And we struggled to even get that prepared. Students could not read music. They didn't know their fingerings. They couldn't read rhythms. It was a struggle to get the first concert going. And to get something on the field, which we did, and we have every year since then, is a major struggle because we do, as Ms. Fink said, rebuild every year. I have a few students who carry over, but the majority of my band this year are completely new. Many of them have come where they've bounced around from program to program, don't know the first fingerings. I had a trombone player who has worked so hard and has done so amazingly, but he would tell you himself that he didn't even have the basic skills. I was raised in a traditional program. I went to a conservatory of music, which is as traditional as you can get. When I took over, I had to modify how I taught my classes because this is a non-traditional program. The students have non-traditional needs. Most programs, you start in 5th grade, and you know who that band director is, and you know what those kids can do by the time they get to high school. That is not the case here. So I've had to develop, which actually turned into my dissertation and research, which turned into a presentation this past Sunday at the National Music Educators Conference on new methods to help meet the needs of students in these types of situations. My advisor from the University of Kentucky called it groundbreaking research. Other people in the United States are facing similar problems. Obviously, it's different because it's military, but I had so many people say, wow, this is amazing. I'm using research-based methods, current research-based methods in my program. I'm developing current research-based methods. And my students, by the end of the year, every year we start off at like a 2.5, maybe grade level 3, we end up at a grade 4. If you look at the state of Kentucky, the way the music is ranked is level, grade 1 is beginning band, grade 6 is your performing arts schools. The majority of the schools, we're talking 80% perform at grade level 3 and grade level 4. We are at the top of what we are doing in the state of Kentucky. Building from scratch at a grade 2 or a 2.5. And I'm sorry, but that is due to my hard work and my students' hard work and the dedication. And we may not have a huge marching band but that is not my concern. Don't get me wrong, I am concerned about it because it supports the community. My concern is my students, what they can play, what they can read, how they perform, and what they learn from it. When I did my research, I'm sorry, I'm supposed to be at 2 minutes, right? Do you want me to stop?
No, ma'am, please go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. When I did my research, I lost my train of thought. I found out that traditional methods do not make for cognitive learning. They might be able to play their fingers and clap out the rhythms, but they are not cognitively engaged in what they're doing. We say band is an active thing. They are physically engaged, but they are not cognitively engaged. And the research that I developed and the methods I developed that I'm working on publishing them. And I'm going to submit them to an international conference in Glasgow. They are addressing these cognitive needs, and that is how I'm able to get my students from a grade level 2.5 to a grade level 4, able to read the notes when I have everyone at a different level. It's differentiated instruction. It is cognitive engagement. I give them a pre-assessment at the beginning of the year. That is my program. That is my focus. I love my students. We have fun making music, and we put on wonderful concerts. Thank you.
Can I ask a follow-up question?
Absolutely.
Okay, so, obviously, students join band for a number of different reasons. So some may be more interested in a jazz type or a pep band or a theater. I guess My band experience is limited, so please forgive me. Okay, but I know that students are going to have a broad variety of interests and a broad variety of reasons for joining band. Given that we have a small school, obviously it's difficult to reach all of those needs and all of those interests. And so my question is, and it's probably multiple questions, but my question is so is there something we do to reach out to serve those varying interests, number one?
Okay.
And number two is if a Boosters Club exists, is there something that the Boosters Club could do to assist with those functions, and where would you put that, knowing that, okay, the school provides some resources, but where are the school shortfalls that would assist you, if that makes
Okay.
sense?
Yeah, actually, we do have a small marching band. We go out, we play at the national anthem, we play songs on the field, we have a pep band in the stands for football and basketball games. Because some students, we have a couple football players who cannot be in pep band for football season, but they can for basketball. So we have marching band, pep band. When I came on, I added a percussion ensemble. So percussion are drums. And that's open to anyone, not just percussionists, but it's open to any of my band members. And I've had them take advantage of it. And we do the bucket songs, and we've done, we did a balloon song at the last concert. And it was hilarious. I mean, everyone enjoyed it. I added a jazz band. We do all state, all district auditions. I try to give my students all the opportunities that I possibly can. And the marching band part is not easy to do. Like I said, until I came on, there was no marching band. When I was hired, I was told I did not have to do a marching band. I have it in an email. But Dr. Mallon made a legitimate argument for having it. And he said, if those students decide to go into college, music in college, they will need to know how to march. And I said, okay, I will give them some basic skills. So I do try to meet all those needs and give them, the percussion ensemble, you don't have that at every school. I started that because it's fun, and the kids seem to enjoy it. The other part is, I honestly we don't really need a booster program. When we were trying to get it going, after I decided that we did not need it, I'll own it, I don't think we need it, I had several parents email me and say, oh, I'm glad, I felt so bad because I don't have the time to devote to the meetings, but I'm happy to help out as needed. And so, for example, we're having a tailgate party this Friday before the ball game for the band kids, food and fun and all that stuff. And I sent out an email to the parents and said, hey, can anyone help with this? I need crock pots, I need help setting up. I've got sufficient volunteers. So really and truly, we just need it on an as-needed basis, and it's been fine. Ms. Hibbert is the assistant band director. She helps with receptions after the concerts. And we're sufficient. I think it's doing more work than we necessarily need. I have to admit, I have lots of equipment. I've never been in a situation where I've had so much equipment and access to instruments, whatever I need. Ms. Fink has we've got new curricular materials this year because of the combined band classes. So I feel like it's a excellent situation. So did that answer your questions?
Yeah, no, it did. And so my follow-on question also, I think the issue came up of band camp. Do we try and do anything with respect to band camp, or is that something students do or can do even on their own?
We have done it in the past, and here's what happens. Kids sign up for it. They come spottily. The attendance is not regular. We had opened it up to middle schoolers before. They get in there and they realize it's not what they thought, and they quit. And I have no way of making them stay. There's no way to force these kids to continue. And then we get into school starts, and so I lose half of them who barely came to band camp to begin with, and I get a whole new batch who want to do it. So I decided this year, and I realized there was some confusion, but as far as I was concerned, no one had ever told me anything different. we were not doing band camp because it did not work out the best. We decided, Dr. Mowen and I, when we talked, that all the instruction for marching band would be done during the class period because they combined the classes this year. And this was the first year for that. Before, I had 2 separate bands trying to get them to play as one. But he thought it was a great idea that we could do it all in one class now instead of trying to do it after school. Because I'm fighting, or not fighting, but Raiders, you cannot compete with Raiders. The kids love it, and all those other activities. So we've tried to do it within the scope of the school day, as Ms. Fink was saying. So,
Okay, thank you.
thank you. Thanks.
Pam?
Hi, I'm Sarah Jefferson, 9th grade student at the high school. My son is. Had a couple things real quick. One thing was to tag on to the band camp. I know you mentioned the Army band. I know at Fort Knox, my husband was actually over the band there. Well, kind of, sort of. They had soldiers that were in the band that were willing to tutor for free the kids to help that stopgap for the kids that didn't know anything about reading music. They had soldiers that were willing to do it on their free time. That could be something that they could reach out to and get soldiers from the band that would, one-on-one for free, help bring them up to the right level. I don't know if anybody ever reached out. You said the band volunteered and was turned down, but I mean, it's a new band. Every year is something new, like you said. Another question I had was about cutting of, you mentioned about the programs. Every year we change over because we're a military community. Sometimes we don't have enough participants for certain activities, so things might get cut. I was concerned with that because then that's telling me that my son, who's an athlete, he's a 9th grader, so are you saying next year, if there's no need for football, are we gonna cut football next year? What's the difference between football and band? You know what I mean? It's a sport outside in every other school in this county. Why